The leaked draft opinion document, which suggests the Supreme Court is set to overturn a historic law legalising abortion, is authentic, according to US Chief Justice John Roberts. The decision would restrict American women from accessing abortion. And joining me live now is the former Chief of Staff to Speaker Nancy Pelosi, John Lawrence. John, good morning to you. Thanks for your time. It is only a draft, but in your view, will the Supreme Court overturn Roe v. Wade?
Well, there's certainly been speculation since President Trump named 3 judges, certainly one of them under controversial circumstances, that the established goal of the conservatives in the United States was to fill the Supreme Court with anti-abortion, anti-choice members in order to achieve this outcome. As you mentioned, this is a draft. It was drafted in February. Typically, these are confidential drafts that are written by the justice who is selected for writing the opinion and then circulated to the other justices. In this particular draft, it is a clear out-and-out repeal of the existing ruling back from 1972, Roe v. Wade. That could get changed before the final opinion is issued, probably in June, but it's not clear, and so people are reacting now to this leak. By the way, this leak is extremely unusual and extremely controversial. People on both sides of the opinion are very troubled by this breach of protocol that released this information prematurely.
Do you think jail time should be coming for the leaker?
Well, that's a decision that would be made by people with far more judicial experience than I do. I'm not sure if it's a violation of the law or a violation of Supreme Court protocol.
Okay. What are the repercussions if the court does eventually overturn Roe v. Wade? What happens then?
Well, then the issue of abortion access reverts to the individual states. There are a number of states, of course, that have already passed laws that restrict abortion to a much shorter period of time than the first trimester protected under Roe v. Wade. There are about 14 states that have already passed trigger laws that have said that if the Supreme Court rules Roe v. Wade unconstitutional, then their own state will ban abortion immediately. So I suspect that what you would see, much in keeping with the partisanship that is typical in the United States these days, you would have some states where abortion would be legal. You would have under a variety of circumstances, but you would also have a number of states where abortion would be illegal. It would be up to each individual state to pass their own law. There would not be an overriding national policy governing access to abortion.
Right. Okay, so if a woman did still want to get an abortion or needed to get an abortion for whatever reason, and there are many reasons, they would have to go to a state where they would be able to do that? They'd be able to flee their state?
Yes, I mean, theoretically, if that was within their economic capability, they could. But, you know, there are areas where you'd be traveling hundreds of miles to get to another state. But there also are discussions in some of the states which are likely to ban abortion under those circumstances of prosecuting people who facilitate the ability of people to move out of state to get procedures in states where it's legal. There are also efforts being made to restrict the ability of people in states where abortions are illegal or restricted from securing prescription medicine from out of state in order to do medically induced chemical abortions. So the whole question of access for people either physically or through medication once abortion is banned in a particular state is very much an open question. Of course, it goes without saying that much of the concern about abortion restrictions is that it falls unfairly and inequitably on poor minority people who may not have access to either Planned Parenthood or to the money they would need to go outside their own state in order to secure these services.
Is this a powder keg moment in American history?
I don't think there's any question that there are enormous ramifications from this, and potentially on both sides. The issue of restricting abortion rights has been a centerpiece of the cultural initiatives of the American conservatives since the early 1980s. It is an issue that has affected presidential elections, Supreme Court appointments, congressional elections ever since then. I suspect that this decision will energize people potentially on both sides of the decision, perhaps a little bit more on the side of those people who are seeing the possibility of access to medically safe abortions taken away by the Supreme Court.
Okay, John Lawrence, appreciate your time this morning. Thanks so much for joining us here. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you so much for having me.